Paid for by Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. Welcome to Saturday. It's Andy Brownell on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM, along with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE results. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. A big smile on my face as we start out what is promising to be an absolutely gorgeous weekend.
Oh my gosh, so pretty. Every time we get a nice weekend in the fall, I say, okay, this is the last one. Yep. We got to get a lot of things done. And then we get one more. But you know what? We really are getting to the point where this probably is the last one that we're going to actually see high 60s and possibly 70.
Yeah, we're on borrowed time.
We are on borrowed time, correct. That is as long as we're here. As long as we're home. We can go elsewhere and get warmer weather.
But November is right around the corner, and all bets are off once November is here.
Exactly. And then it's time to start getting out Christmas decorations, and oh my gosh.
Thanksgiving will be here.
Tis the season.
And I saw the National Weather Service is predicting a La Nina winter, which means cold and snowy.
So, in other words, a mean winter. Winter. Yeah. Okay. But you know what? Honestly, but I don't even mind. If we're going to get cold, I kind of like the snow. It makes it feel more like winter for sure.
I think I want it early and then to have an early spring.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. I guess what, Andy? It doesn't matter what we want. This is what I tell people when I go to listing appointments. You can want what you want, but we're going to get what we're going to get. It's out of our control. So we'll just embrace it and make the most of it and love every minute of living in Minnesota where the seasons change.
And, that first snow is always so pretty.
It really is. And it's fun for the people. I always have fun when I have families moving here from other climates and they have, especially their children have never seen snow or their pets have not seen snow. And I get emails from them afterwards saying, oh my gosh, my kids just love the snow, or the dog didn't know what to do out there. It's fun. So we take those things for granted, and it really is. It is awesome. So let's be positive about the snow. I'm sure for you it's a pain. I'm sure it is.
It is what it is. You're right. What it is. You're right. I look at any other place to live, and I see more downside than I do upside. And I look here.
Correct.
And as much as I bellyache about winter, I love living in Minnesota. So.
But it's here and it's coming, right? So let's talk about all the things that, seeing how today is so beautiful out, and most people are at home. Saturday, right? Well, I shouldn't say most people. There's some working, but more than none are off on, more are off than are working. So I think it's a good day to make a checklist of all those winter things that you have to do so that you don't end up getting caught in a hard spot. So let's kind of run through the list.
All right.
So first of all, I actually saw somebody washing their car today, and I thought, I wanted to stop and tell them, take that hose off the spigot when you're done. So, most of you have probably already removed your hoses, but if you do get it out because you think, I'm going to power wash the house, or I'm going to clean the windows because it's so nice out and I have this last chance, just make sure you take the hose off so you don't end up with a frozen pipe, okay?
Yeah, it'll be a costly mistake.
Another thing is a lot of people think that certain sidings, like I'll talk about EIFS, I'll talk about cement board, that they're maintenance free. But anytime that your siding has caulking around the top to keep water out, then that's something you do have to maintain. So check on your caulking, see if your caulking's all intact, because when that ice gets there up on your roof and this winter in the snow and then it melts, we want to make sure that it doesn't go behind the siding, right? So make sure your caulking is all intact. And I'll go ahead. Were you going to ask me a question?
Well, I actually just talked to somebody this week that they had found damage, behind the windows. And because the windows were in fine shape. Everything was good, but they had not caulked, and it got a little bit of rot.
Yeah. So really, when they say maintenance-free, that doesn't really pertain to Minnesota. We're not a maintenance-free kind of state. I mean, we're just not, because of what we were just talking about. You know, the temperature's changing from hot to cold and wet to dry and snow and ice to rain to, you know, we get it all. So we got to really keep things in good shape to ward that off. And the leaves that are falling like crazy out there, they're beautiful. But you know what? They're landing in your gutters. If you have leaf guards, they're landing on top of your gutters. But either way, get rid of those leaves, because honestly, if they fill up and then they get a little moisture in there and then they freeze solid, your gutters can't perform. They can't do what they're supposed to do. So today's a great day to get up there and clean out those gutters. If you have an elderly neighbor, go clean out theirs. Be a nice guy.
And if you leave it there all winter, you'll have compost in the spring.
Oh, boy. Yeah. And then you get a gutter garden. You've heard me talk about gutter gardens.
Oh.
You drive by and some people's gutters have literally
trees.
The crumbled up leaves have turned to dirt, and there are literally plants growing in the gutters, as I constantly refer to as gutter gardens.
I like that.
Okay, so the next thing, we all have these fancy electronic thermostats in our house, so make sure you check your battery, because as soon as your battery goes dead, guess what? Your furnace goes off. So when you say, well, how do I check my battery? Well, sure, you can take it out and test it. Replace the battery. Just go take your battery out and put a new one in, and then circle the date on the calendar. This is the day I changed my battery. That's how.
Maybe I should just do that when, choose a date every year and just do it like the fall.
Some people do it because they pick their birthday because their birthday is the middle of October or whatever it is. So pick a day to change those batteries and change them in your smoke alarms and your carbon monoxide detectors. Keep your family safe. So just walk through the house, change the batteries. Great day to run out to Menards or Home Depot or wherever you shop and buy a bunch of batteries. Also a good time to check your have your fireplace checked, and especially if you're using a wood-burning fireplace, because you got to keep that chimney clean. Some people don't know that. Like, home buyers buy a house and it has a wood-burning fireplace, and they think, oh, we're in great shape. We just put wood in here and start a fire. Well, if you didn't have it checked or cleaned when you bought it, there could be a buildup in there, and that is, a huge risk to start a fire. So just make sure if you're using your chimney that you have it checked out and cleaned, and even your furnace, if you're using a gas furnace, just have it checked out. I mean, there's great service programs, and if you're not signed up for automatic maintenance, you reach out to one of the HVAC companies that does the services and just have them come in, clean your gutters, clean your furnace, and of course at home, make sure you're changing the filters and keeping those so that it can be running on running it the most economically. This is going to be a winter that you want to definitely watch that, with the increase in heat prices, for sure.
And you mentioned the furnace. You could be running with a cracked heat exchanger, and you would not know it.
And you would not know it. Yeah, it's very important.
Very scary, yes.
Yes. And, sometimes you'll see people who have older houses. People think, oh, this is a grandma thing. But no, I see younger people, too, if they're buying these older houses over in Elton Hills or over in Country Club Manor or down by Kutsky Park. If they're older homes and they haven't had the windows replaced, if you can't afford to go replace all your windows, that's fine. But you can do things to make your windows more energy efficient. And that plastic that people put over the windows actually really does make a huge difference. And people say, oh, I don't want that. But you cut the square, you put it up there, and you use a hair dryer to basically shrink dry it on, and it pulls tight, and you don't even know that it's there, and especially from the outside, and it's behind your curtains on the inside. So I recommend doing that. You can save money.
Yes, especially talking about high heat bills this winter, so it's even more.
Yeah, this is a winter that it's going to be important. And that's the same thing. I think people are going to be burning more wood than they had in the past. Like, they used to just look at that wood burner or that wood-burning fireplace and say, oh, it looks so pretty, but it's a lot of work. Well, I think this year people are going to put the effort into it just to save on the bills, but I just want you to be aware that make sure you're, operating with a clean chimney. That's all.
I can almost guarantee there'll be several times over the next few months I'll be reading a story about a fire that was started
chimney
by
fire.
A chimney fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doggone it. It's so true. So if they're listening to us, hopefully it's not going to happen to any of our listeners.
Yes. Just like I say, hire the person. It's not that expensive, and they'll come and clean it out for you if you can't do it yourself.
Right. Correct.
Okay. We should
time
probably
for a
take
break.
Yeah, we
I was going to say, all right, that's fine. I was going to say I can go into the next thing, but I'm guessing it's time to take a break.
We're talking about winter home maintenance today with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results, and we'll be back in just a moment on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
You hear a lot of different things in Minnesota these days.
Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE results this morning, talking about some winter maintenance, a checklist. Covered a lot already.
Things we can do, yeah. And I think, again, every winter all these things are important, but if we're expecting a harsh winter and we know that heating costs are up, I think there are some things that we can do to, ease that just a little bit. And so things like weather stripping, right? If you're weather stripping under your doors or around your windows, sometimes that stuff wears out. Again, it's not maintenance free. It does wear with time, and especially throughout the seasons with the freezing and thawing and, all the different temperatures and humidity levels and moisture levels. That stuff just wears out. So it doesn't take a lot to just install, storm doors and the weather stripping along the storm doors and the windows and just help prevent some of that cold air from coming in.
You'll know right away this winter if you need it.
Oh, yes, you will. If you can feel the air coming in. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, is there a door open? No, but it feels like it.
And that is, that's adding a lot to your heating bill.
Yeah, and again, I just before the break, I was talking about people are going to be using their wood-burning fireplaces, their wood-burning stoves, and just make sure that in that chimney, some animal hasn't decided to make a nest during the fall while they were trying to escape the cold, or that the soot hasn't built up in there. So just make sure that's clean. Your gutters, you're going to clean out your gutters, and caulking is super important. We talked about that. Your insulation, you can always, if you've got an attic that is under insulated, that's a great way to save on your heat bills, is to add some insulation.
And I think the way you can tell is if the past winters, if you see spots where the snow has melted on your roof where the rest of the roof has snow, that's a pretty good indicator you've got thin insulation, at least in some spots.
Have you ever called the energy company and had them come and conduct an energy saving assessment for your home?
No, I'm afraid what they'd find.
Okay, well, when I was living at the Rochester Better Chance House, of course, being a nonprofit and, having to really watch every penny, we did everything we could to keep the bills down. And that was, 100-year-old, very large house. But we had Minnesota Energy or one of those companies come over, and they take a picture of your house, and it's a thermal camera, so they can show you exactly where the heat is escaping, So then they say, okay, if you can't afford to replace the windows, then you put the plastic on. So this is how I learned a lot of this. It was pre-real estate days. It was living it and learning it. But it's just really something that I preach to my home buyers, especially to my young first-time home buyers who never had to be a part of maintaining the home or taking, just mom and dad did that stuff, that kind of thing. Another thing that can save on power, as you know, is LED light bulbs. They cost more to buy, but they cost so much less to use.
They've come down so far in price. There's absolutely no reason not to use them.
No, exactly. You have to use
last
them
forever almost.
For those hard to change light bulbs, especially, you'll thank yourself over and over. And we talked about changing your furnace filters on a regular basis so that you are making sure that your furnace is running as efficiently as possible.
A clogged furnace will make that thing run a lot more than it needs to.
Oh, yes. So stock up on your stuff to be ready for. You want to have, if you don't have the snow roof, the roof rake, make sure you have one of those so that you can prevent ice dams from happening, and make sure you've got that ice melt stocked up, because don't you realize how we're like a month into bad weather and then you can't buy it anywhere. Right. Everybody runs out of it. So stock up on that stuff.
And shovels.
And shovels, yep.
If you don't have one, yeah. Especially you're telling new home buyers, if this is their first winter, they have none of this stuff.
They don't
I know because I'm dealing with my daughter and trying to provide her with lists.
Exactly.
Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this?
Exactly. Well, I think you get the message. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make winter more bearable, and just be prepared. It's like anything else in life. The more prepared you are, if you have the right equipment, it just makes it easier to get through it. So just want to throw out those helpful little hints.
Well, a lot of what you're talking about is maintaining the value of your home, that investment you have in your home, because if you get those ice dams, then you're going to have water damage. If you don't caulk around the windows properly, once again, water damage, and all of that has a detrimental impact on your investment.
Exactly. And that's why I like to say easy on the maintenance free, because things might have less maintenance, but when you live in a climate that we live in, there's always some sort of maintenance. So whether you have a maintenance free siding, you still have to keep the caulking intact, right? I mean, there's always maintenance with home ownership, for sure.
I have another one we could add to the list real quick. The gap between your garage and your driveway. Mm-hmm. Try to make sure that has at least the filler piece in it, or if not, seal it up with something else, because
that rubber kind of caulk thing that's kind of stretchable, that works super well. Yeah. Yep.
And there's some of the stuff, like I have this self-leveling liquid you put in there, and it dries up in it. And because from experience, that water can get under the driveway
and crack the driveway.
Exactly.
Yeah, and cause a very expensive damage.
Yeah. A $25 piece of something you bought at the hardware store will be well worth it.
So I need to shift gears here, because we're starting to scare homeowners. We're making them feel like, okay, this sounds like a lot of work and a lot of expense. Do I really want to go there? But I want to talk about just the opposite. Our broker owner, John Colopy, came down to the office in Rochester this week and talked to us about the real estate market in general, kind of gave us his opinion of where things are at and where things are heading. And he talked about the rental pandemic. And he goes, yes, I did not misuse this word. I'm telling you, this is not going to help our young people. He said, because now people are starting to believe that I'm better off to rent than I am to buy. So these apartment buildings are going up by huge numbers. He happens to live up in the cities in Maple Grove, and he said so many apartment buildings have gone up, and he said I'm not talking about fancy high class rent. I'm talking about the average rent is $2,000 a month.
$2,000.
So average. And so he said, now think about this.
You could buy for $2,000 in a house.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, so Robin, he goes, get out your calculator, because he was talking, and he's like, just do the math. And for most of it, I didn't need a calculator, but once it got to be a little far in, but he's like, so if you think about $2,000 a month for a year, you're talking about $24,000 a year. He's like, now talk about if you do that for 10 years, because all of a sudden, we're pretty comfortable in this apartment, and geez, I've only been here a year. Oh, actually, I've been here 3. Oh my God, I've been here 4 years already. You know how that goes. So now they've spent almost $250,000 for rent, and what do they have to show for it? Nothing.
Sign another lease with an increase in rent.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's astounding.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this. The rent versus ownership. I already know the answer, so.
Well, I hope so.
We'll come back in a second with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE Results on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Seal off drafts, dust, moisture, and more with MD.
With Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We are back. Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE Results this morning. right before the break, we started talking about renting and owning. And
correct.
What you said surprises me. I mean, number one, the $2,000 a month surprises me a lot. But number two, that I would think after 1 year of renting, I would at least, the light bulb would go off in my eye. It did for me, because that's exactly what happened with us. We got married and got into an apartment and rented for a year. And before the year was out, I already said, this is not the wise thing to do. Let's go and find a house. Let's go.
So there's a couple of things that have changed it, I think. First of all, the millennials, and you and I have talked about this a lot, they're different than we were at that age. When we were their age and we were just starting out, and I'm not saying this as a negative, it's just the truth. It's just a fact. And my own kids are included in this, and I bet yours are too. But when we were started out, any furniture we could get our hands on. You know, if my mom said, oh, you can have this old sofa and then this chair that doesn't match, or you can have this, oh, thank you, Mom, thank you. And you just take it and make it look. And now, I mean, if I offer something that I have to my kids, they'd be like, no, thank you. And I think that is kind of the consensus. I mean, they want everything. And I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that they like nice things, these young people. Okay? So they are attracted. They're attracted to these fancy, brand new apartments with the latest, greatest flooring and latest, greatest countertops and appliances and all the fancy stuff, right? All the extras. And then they've got a room with a workout and a golf simulator and a pool and a hot tub and all those things that if they were going to buy a house, they wouldn't be able to afford all those same things. And so those people that are selling them on these high-end rents with all these fancy amenities that in the real world, you and I both know they're going to use for the first couple of weeks and then not after that, right? But anyway, they're saying, they're not telling them, oh, by the way, you're missing out on an opportunity to build wealth and to gain equity. They're not telling them that because they're making a ton of money off of renting these apartments month after month. Because really, I would think if our focus is on affordable housing, maybe instead of so many apartment buildings going up, there should be more affordable condos and townhomes where they can start building equity and start owning. So I don't know what we do to change that. I mean, I wish I had the power to, but it sure is the same. And I think what we can do, and as realtors, our responsibility is to educate, and that's why I do use this radio show as a place to do that and really talk about the importance of how people gain wealth in their life. And honestly, I mean, if you talk to financial investors, they will tell you that home ownership is where people get their wealth. When people retire, they sell their real estate.
Yes. And you're living in it.
And what do I tell you? It's the bank account that you can live in, right? And so even in obviously when they're not talking about inflation every time you turn the TV on, it was easier to sell people on the fact that real estate's the way to go. But now these young buyers are like, oh my gosh, I can't afford it with the prices going up and the interest rates going up. I just can't afford it. But do you realize, Andy, that historically home ownership is a great hedge against inflation? Because that fixed rate mortgage allows you to maintain the biggest portion of the housing expense, and you get to stay at that same payment.
Yes.
The renters can raise you up every time your lease comes due.
And they have.
And
it's more than that too, I think. I think once you're in the home, you develop a different mindset as far as your financial well-being and your financial goals are concerned, and it's a positive change. It's a shift towards the future, and I already see amongst the younger people that they are doing this.
Oh, yeah. And it's good because, talking about inflation, do you know that in September, rents rose on average by 7.29%, which is the highest pace in 40 years?
Yeah,
it's scary.
It is. I know people who have children, grown children who are renting and are faced with increases in their monthly payments that are sometimes in the hundreds of dollars.
Right. And Realtor.com did a survey recently, and 72 amongst property owners who rent their properties, and 72% said that they plan to raise the rent in the coming year. 72%. So, I mean, it's going up, up, up.
And just from my family members, when you're talking about the rent costs that you were mentioning, they got into some very nice, I wouldn't even say starter homes, but nice homes that their monthly payments, including taxes and insurance, are far less than the amount that you were talking about.
Exactly. And they are building wealth. Because the prices are going to go up. Home prices are not dropping. We've covered this, week over week in our recent conversations. And the fact is home prices are going to continue to rise. They're just not rising as rapidly as they had for a few years there. But do you know that, honestly, people are like, oh, home sales are down. Home sales are down. Yes, home sales are down this year over last year. Yes, and maybe even from 2020. But home sales are up from 2019. So this is good. And in Rochester, I think the national average home sales is down like 18 or 19%. And in Rochester in the last year, home sales were down by 6%, and
still moving along pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And home sales within the Gwaltney Group, I'm really proud of this, it's only down by 3%. So we've only sold 3% fewer homes than we did last year. And I think it's because people still, with the real estate market shifting, I think people really put a lot of thought and effort into who are we going to align ourselves with, who are we going to help, who's going to help us navigate through this adjusting real estate market, because we know that buying a house is still a good thing to do. We know it's still a good time to sell our house, but who's going to guide us? Because we need somebody we can depend on. And I'm really happy and proud to say that people are still calling us and choosing us. And we're definitely still really passionate about helping people do that and making dreams come true. As sappy and corny as that may sound, I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because like you said, there is just something about home ownership, and to watch your kids achieve it, to watch your kids become homeowners, and for me, my young clients, it's very rewarding because I know what it's going to mean for them years down the road. Right. It's not just the having a home now, it's the beginning of, it's sort of like when you give your little 2-year-old their first piggy bank and a handful of change and they put it in it. It just warms your heart because you're starting to teach them the concept of save a little today and you're going to have something to show for it tomorrow. So I just hope that people don't all get scared off, and if they are out there wondering about well, geez, can I really still afford to buy a home with the rates going up and with the prices going up? How do I do this? How do I make it work? Trust me when I tell you, not only can you make it work, it's still the best decision you can make. So I would love to sit down with you, talk to you over the phone, whatever works. I want to help you understand and answer those questions that are looming so that you don't have that doubt. Because as I've said it before, right? Usually the scariest part is the unknown.
Well, if you've been listening today and you just heard Robin, how do they get a hold of you if they took this to heart and are ready to explore the idea of home ownership?
Learn more. Absolutely. I'd love to help you. So please call me on my cell phone anytime. That phone number is 507-259-4926. Or if you want to check me out, just go to the website and look at the whole Gwaltney Group, see who we are, and that's GwaltneyGroup.com.
All right, Robin, you have a great weekend and enjoy doing home maintenance.
All right, I will be. I've been cleaning the garage, to be honest. I promised Scott we'd get that done today.
All right. Until next week, that's Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE Results on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Amazon Business honors Ricardo Gurgel, owner of Veggie Root Tavern. This week, Ricardo saved big and used Amazon Business to help his team buy commercial deep fryers at a quantity discount. Because even veggies can be fried.
I'm going to need 2 orders of fried fiddleheads.
With business buying easier than before, Ricardo now uses his extra time to focus on growing something big. Buy smarter, dream bigger. Visit Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. Fiddleheads.